Today's lecture is dealing with the professional attackers part 2. This is the continuation from the first lecture of the attributes of professional attackers. Today I'm going to be talking about the tactics professional attackers use. Okay, as always, let's get a quick overview of the topic. So here's a list of the tactics professional attackers will use. Deterrence or discouragement. They will try to disable or disrupt their opponent's ability to resist them. They will cheat. They will pursue the objective. And then possibly most importantly, they will repeat all of this. I'll explain how that works. So first, let's talk about deterrence and discouragement. The first step any professional attacker will take in the pursuit of their objective is to deter or discourage their opponent from attacking, right? Again, if I want to achieve an objective, I ideally want to do it as efficiently as possible. And if I can get what I want without exerting any energy, suffering any injury, or spending any resources, I'm going to do it, right? So the example I'm going to use for this is, let's say I have a nice big shiny chain and some guy wants to mug me, right? Now, if I fight the guy, maybe I win, but maybe I get a tooth knocked out. Maybe I get my nose broken, maybe I get a rib broken or I hurt my back, right? So what I want to do is I want to walk away with my chain on, that's my primary objective, without exerting myself and without suffering any injury, right? So I want to deter the guy, convince him it's a bad idea to try and mug me, and vice versa. If I'm the guy mugging a dude and he's got a nice big chain, do I want to fight the dude for the chain and get my tooth knocked out, right? Get an eyeball injury, you know what I'm saying? Hit my head on the ground and get knocked out? No, I want that chain in my pocket and I want to continue on my way unscathed, right? So I'm going to try and convince that guy that it's a real bad idea for him to resist me and to just give me the fucking chain and make it easy. Okay, so examples, 2 ways you can do that, right, is intimidation, right? The dude walks up on me and says, hey punk, give me that chain, right? Hey man, you don't want that smoke with me. I'll fuck you up. I'll knock you out with one punch and you'll be on the ground convulsing. Right? Intimidation. I want to convince him that he cannot beat me, right? Or that he's going to suffer a consequence so fucking bad that it's not even worth trying, right? Same thing, right? Grabs me and say, hey punk, give me that chain. You see these teardrop tattoos, right? I've smoked fools over less. Unless you want to get killed, run that shit, right? Tries to intimidate. Or persuasion, hey man, there's cameras over there. Even if you could beat me, bro, you're going to get fucking caught before you get away with it. It ain't worth it, man. Keep moving, right? I'm not necessarily intimidating them, but I'm convincing them, hey, it's in your own best interest not to try to rob my chain and vice versa. Hey, bro, I want that chain right quick, man. I'm not going to steal your wallet. I'm not going to steal your phone. I'm not going to hurt you. Cool with it. Just let me get that chain. I'll be on my way, big dog. You'll be all right? You'll get another one. So counters to this, counters to somebody trying to deter you or discourage you, right? Conditioning, indoctrination, and incentives. If you remember that from the first part of the lecture, right? Incentives, right, is, if I'm a cartel member, right, or if I'm a gang member, right? If I let somebody rob me without fighting back, right, my gang is going to jump me. My gang is going to kick me out of the neighborhood, or they're going to tax me, or if I'm in jail, somebody tries to punk me and I don't fight back. Right now, everybody on the block knows that I'm a fucking punk, and anytime my commissary comes in, it's getting stolen because everybody knows I'm not going to fight back, right? So if the incentive for not fighting back is worse than the incentive, the consequences for not fighting back are worse than the consequences of fighting back, I'm going to fight back, right? So if you have the right incentives, you can resist deterrence. If you've been indoctrinated the right way, or you indoctrinate the people around you, right? The word doctrine, right? A belief system, right? If you have the right belief system, right, you can deter, right? You can defend yourself from deterrence and discouragement. And then of course, conditioning, right? If you have the right mental condition, right? You've been in it, right? The gang member, he's been in enough fights, he's seen death, he's seen all of it, he's got a more realistic expectation of what might happen and, what will happen if he quits, or he just believes it in his mind that he's tough, right? Again, if you've got these 3 things, that's how you counteract deterrence, right? But if you're not trained properly, you're not going to have the right internal incentive structure, you're not going to have the right belief system, you're not going to be conditioned enough, and you're going to be susceptible to deterrence. Right? I say right here, train in a realistic environment versus a comfortable environment. I don't want to harp on it too much, right? But I talked about this like the women's self-defense classes, right? Where you're presumably learning how to defend yourself, or females learning how to defend yourself against a stronger male, but is only training with other females, right? You are not, not only are you not physically training for the right enemy, but again, a lot of people join those classes because they're not comfortable training with males. But again, the very first thing a professional attacker is going to do is to intentionally make you uncomfortable fighting back. So if you've only trained and you've been conditioned to fight when you're comfortable in your comfort zone, the minute you get pulled out of your comfort zone, you are not mentally prepared to handle that, right? And that makes it to where you will quit without even fighting back. And that makes all the combat skills you have useless. Even if you have the power to hit a quarter off an apple with, from 100 yards away, if you can be persuaded or intimidated out of pulling that trigger, that skill's useless. It doesn't matter anymore, right? So if you can't resist deterrence, if you can be intimidated or persuaded out of resisting, you don't even get past the first step of dealing with a professional attacker. And you don't even get to defend yourself. Right? So that's the important thing, is that you have to train yourself to, hey, combat is not comfortable. It's very uncomfortable, right? And it's very scary. And if I cannot handle that situation, doesn't mean you need to be at a gym that, is very egotistical or the people hurt each other. But, yes, you do need to be thrown, not necessarily into the deep end, but, the water needs to be up here. There needs to be a little danger of drowning. You're not comfortable training with men, or you're not comfortable training with, whatever, right? Because when somebody's trying to mug you or kill you or SA you, they're going to intentionally make it uncomfortable. Again, if you cannot handle that discomfort in a gym training setting, you are not going to be able to handle it in the real deal. And you're going to fold, you're going to quit, and all the skills you worked hard for are going to be fucking useless. Okay, the next step is to disable or disrupt their enemy's ability to resist. If deterrence fails, the next step professional attackers will take is to disrupt or disable their enemy's ability to resist, preventing them from resisting at full strength. Okay, so an example is the classic movie killer. Classic movie killer, right? Oh no, we found the dog's head in the living room. There's a killer in the house. Quick, call 911. Oh no, the phone lines have been cut. Oh no, what's that? The power went out. Everybody quick, out to the car. Oh no, the tires have been slashed, right? The gate to the property has been locked. The windows are boarded up, right? The serial killer, right, disables the protagonist's ability to escape them and to resist them, right? They don't, run in there and leave the phone line on, right? Because if they did that, well, they call 911. Now 911's on the way. Oh no, killer's in the main room. Quick, run out the side door that's unlocked. Go to the car that has gas and, working tires and drive away and let the police come, right? So again, your classic movie killer, they disable and disrupt the ability of the protagonist to resist them before they pick them off one by one. Flashbangs, right? Tear gas, same thing. Okay, there's going to be a scenario throughout the lecture, right? There's 4 dudes in a house, SWAT team out front, right? Again, are they going to engage in a fair fight if they can? No, right? If they can't convince the guys to surrender, they're going to throw in tear gas to try and, suffocate them out, or throw in flashbangs right before they go in to take away their sight and take away their hearing, right? Stopping them from fighting back at full strength. And then, of course, resource denial, right? An example of this is in Greece, I think last decade, there was an uprising by some civilians, and the government cut off the power and cut off the water to the houses in the neighborhood that the resistance controlled, right? Because that way, again, if you don't have power, you can't protect yourself from heat or from cold, right? It reduces your health of your soldiers, and if they don't have water, right, or they don't have shipments of food coming in, they're going to be starving, they're going to be thirsty, it's going to make them weaker. If you can find a way to deprive them of sleep, right, this will all stop them from fighting at full strength. So what are some counters for this, right? Reverse disruption. Okay, you know the SWAT team likes to throw flashbangs in windows. Well, now your fortress doesn't have any windows, right? Or, you know, they like to breach the door with a battering ram. Well, now you have a door that can't, you know, be battered. Or a big one is a moat in a castle, right? You know, they want to bring horses and armor and all that to your castle. Well, you've got a deep moat that, you know, they can't get by. If somebody wants to scale the wall to your castle, they have to take off their heavy armor and swim across the river or swim across the moat where your archers can rain down, you know, arrows or, you know, hot tar on unarmored targets, right? So again, you're reverse disruption. You know your enemy wants to disrupt you, so you disrupt them. Resource independence. Again, right, you have a compound or a castle, right? You grow food and your castle's under siege, but you have your own well, and you have your own farm, and your own, you know, livestock production inside the farm, right? You're resource independent. Your enemy can't starve you out. They can't keep you away from water, right? Or if you have a solar battery, instead of, you know, being connected to the grid, they can't shut your power off, right? So this stops them from denying your resources. And of course, the greatest competitive advantage, right? The lecture on 3 competitive advantages, stealth, right? Let's go back to the house on the SWAT team, right? There's 4 dudes in the main room with ARs. SWAT team hits the flashbang, runs in, and 10 dudes come out of the attic, and another 10 dudes come out of the basement, right? Oops, you know what I mean? You thought you were completely disabling their ability to fight back, but you only caused a minor inconvenience, right? So again, if you use good stealth, and your enemy doesn't know what resources you have, they don't know where you have them, they don't know how you use them, right? You don't show your full fighting power, you don't show your full arsenal, you just show some of it, right? They cannot effectively disable or disrupt your ability to resist because they don't know the full extent of how to do it. Let's go over cheating. As an extension of disabling and disruption, once engaged, professional attackers will tilt the odds of victory in their favor as much as possible to the point one could consider it cheating, right? There's a colonel or an ex-officer in the US military, I don't remember his name, but he had the best quote. He said, if you ever find yourself in a fair fight, your tactics suck. Okay, so an example is bombing, right? If there's a group of insurgents, they have small arms, they have nothing that can hit an aircraft, and you fly overhead and you bomb them, you're basically cheating. They have no chance of fighting back. You know, if the bomb's powerful enough, they have nowhere they can hide. They're just screwed. There's nothing they can do, right? But that's tilting the odds as far as your favor as possible instead of sending in men and risk people dying and having a lower success rate, right? And of course, superior resources and superior numbers. Again, the other 2 main competitive advantages from that lecture, I think 2 lectures ago, right? Having superior resources or superior numbers, going back to the SWAT team, right? Once the SWAT team throws that flashbang in and, you know, their enemies, those 4 dudes with ARs can't see anymore, they can't hear anymore. Are those cops going to send in 4 guys with ARs and no body armor to match, right, to make it a one-on-one? No, the fuck they're not. Right, head-to-toe body armor, the best rifles they have available, and as many men as they can, you know, get approval to send. Right, they're going to make it a 20-on-1 battle on top of disabling. Right, so again, this is an extension. Right, with disruption, I am weakening your ability to fight, and with cheating, I am giving myself the greatest advantage. Right. So I'm going to use superior resources, superior numbers. I'm not going to engage in a fair fight if I can avoid it. Okay, so counters to cheating. Well, to cheat yourself, right? Again, we go back to stealth, right? Same scenario, right? Just like I said, cheating is an extension of disruption, right? The stealth you would use to counteract disruption would basically be the same for counteracting cheating, right? Again, we go back to the SWAT team scenario, right? The 10 dudes in the basement and the 10 dudes in the attic, that's cheating, right? SWAT team thought it was going to be 20-on-4, and now it's 24-on-20. Now you outnumber them, right? Oops. So again, right, disruption. Again, you've got a force that's using superior resources and superior numbers. Do you engage them directly? No. There's several instances in history of entities that have had inferior resources and inferior numbers and have still pulled off great victories, right? The forefathers here in America are one, the Taliban is another one, the Viet Cong is another one, right? They use cheating of their own. They use traps, right? They, use poisons. Right, like our forefathers, they use guerrilla warfare, right? The Brits wanted us to line up one-on-one and, shoot it out with them in a line, and we shot them from cover and ran away. We fought like cowards, but we beat them. Again, deception, right? Do you want to approach your enemy in uniform and with your rifle out so that they know you're an enemy? Or do you want to look like a regular guy and you throw a backpack that explodes at them? Right, or using the rules of engagement to your advantage, right? The Geneva Convention prevents the bombing of hospitals. Well, there's many armed forces around the world that set up their bases in hospitals because they know their opponents can't use bombing, right? So again, the way to beat cheating is to cheat yourself. Okay, pursue the objective. This is going to be some regurgitating here, right? I talked about professional attackers are focused on their objectives in the first part of this lecture. In the second part, that was the principle of focusing on the objective. This is the action of focusing on the objective. So once engaged, a truly professional attacker will prioritize their primary objective and avoid being distracted by secondary objectives and individual needs. Okay, example of drugs during a raid. Okay, SWAT team, different raid, right? SWAT team's raiding a drug house, looking to capture a drug lord, right? They get in there, there's a firefight, bullets are flying, and a SWAT team member passes a table and there's 5 kilos of cocaine. Has there ever been a case where the SWAT team guy holsters their weapon, grabs the cocaine, and goes to take it out to the car? No, right? You're in the middle of a firefight, right? The primary objective is to neutralize the guy shooting at you and capture the guy you came to capture or neutralize, right? After that's done, yes, secondary objectives. You can secure the cocaine, right? But you're not going to get distracted by that. Or again, if there's, you're in a shootout, they're in a shootout and there's, some unarmed person in the bathroom dumping the cocaine down the toilet, right? Is a guy who's being shot at going to disengage from the shootout, grab that person and arrest him and then go back to helping his fellow officers? No, you're going to focus on the shootout first. And then if you have a chance to stop them from flushing the evidence, as a secondary objective, you're going to do that, right? But you're not going to jeopardize the primary objective for, you're not going to go up to raid a house and see that a truck is parked on the curb and write a ticket. You know what I'm saying? You're going to focus on your primary objective. Okay, additional HVTs during a raid. Let's use a vigilante example because again, I'm focused on the tactics over here, not necessarily the morals. Let's say 4 guys are going to show up at a pedophile's house to abduct him. They run in there, there's 2 other creepy dudes in the living room, right? You want to capture all 3 of those guys, but again, you plan your attack and your resources to be a 4 guys on 1 guy capture, right? Are you going to, break off 2 guys to go after each one of those creeps and now cut your resources to take out this 1 guy in half and increase the odds that he gets away? No, the smart thing to do is come in, get the guy. Once you've secured him, right, leave 2 guys with him, and then maybe try to get the secondary guys if you can, right? But you go after your primary objective. You don't, risk your success chances to try to get a secondary objective you didn't plan for. Okay, personal retaliation, right? There's a Marine in the middle of a battle, and his best friend that he grew up with is, a Marine right next to him. And dude gets shot in the head, right? He gets on the radio. They killed Timmy, right? Has there ever been a time a colonel or general said, hey, you guys over there saving civilians, stop. You guys over there disarming bombs, stop. You guys over there, destroying an ammo depot, stop. Everybody focus fire on that one guy who shot Timmy, right? No, they're focused on the main objective. And again, you don't let personal feelings or emotions get in the way. That's why there's, officers who make the call up here and infantry down here. Again, kind of a stupid point, but right, you're not going to let personal feelings or retaliation get in the way of an objective if you are a professional. And then pilfering. Again, kind of a little silly point, but if you and a crew are going to hit an armored car and steal $200,000, but on the way out, you know that the guard, right, he took his weapon to stop him from shooting you, but you notice that he has nice, expensive body armor and expensive boots. Are you going to take the time to rob his body armor and boots too? No. It's a waste of time, right, and you're putting your whole team at risk. Again, amateur might try to do some stupid shit like that, but professionals not. As far as counters, see the first part of the lecture, right? I covered it there, you know, and all the things to do, right? Again, if you know your enemy's objective is here, you can lay booby traps, you can let them capture that objective if it's not important to you and get your people out of it. I already covered all this, right? I don't want to beat a dead horse too many times. Okay, finally we get to repeating. Even when engaged, a professional attacker will always capitalize on the opportunity to deter, disrupt, or increase their odds of victory if the opportunity presents itself. Okay, so an example is a surrender after a tactical adjustment. So what do I call a tactical adjustment, right? You go back to the house with the SWAT team, right? 4 guys in there, they're shooting at the SWAT team guys. You know, fuck you, we're ex-military, we can take you pigs, blah, blah, blah. Shootout ensues for about 5 minutes. 2 of the guys get killed. Okay? Because again, there's a very big difference from feeling like you can win, not being sure if you can win, and being pretty fucking sure you're gonna lose. Completely different mind states. They really fuck with the incentive structure. They really challenge your mental conditioning, right? They make you question your indoctrination, right? All that shit kind of, you know, becomes wishy-washy and is in the balance. Right, so again, if you feel like you don't want to surrender when you've got your full fighting force, it's one thing, but if half your guys are killed, half your ammo is spent, and you're given a second opportunity to surrender, odds are exponentially higher you're going to take it the second time around. Right, now again, even though, right, that SWAT team's victory is guaranteed, do they want to keep engaging in the shootout to finish off the last 2 guys and risk having one of their guys get shot? Or even though taxpayers foot the bill for the ammo, you know, do they want to spend more ammo and resources? No, right? Again, we talked about this in the beginning, right? You want to achieve your objective as efficiently as possible, right? With the least amount of resources spent and the least amount of damage received, okay? So a professional attacker or professional group, anytime they can go back to deterrence and get their enemy to quit, they're going to take it. Right? Or again, sabotage, right? If you're raiding a compound and you have an opportunity to take out their power generator and take out their, you know, food supplies or take out their weapons caches, you do it, right? Because even, right, and then at that point, you can go back to trying to get them to quit. Hey, even if you are dug in and we can't get to you and kill any more of you, right? Your power's off, your water's gone, your food's gone. You can't hold out. Like you're eventually going to lose, right? Increases your ability to get them to surrender, right? Or again, reinforcements and airstrikes, right? If you're engaged with a group of insurgents, even if you are outnumbered or you have them outnumbered 2 to 1, right? If you still have an opportunity to call in an airstrike and cheat and tilt the odds way in your favor, you take it, right? Or if you have an opportunity to get reinforcements, right? You don't say, no, we're good, we have enough men, no, we don't need an airstrike. Right, so again, a professional attacker, even in the middle of battle, they are always looking for an opportunity to deter, to get their enemy to quit. They're always looking for an opportunity to further disrupt their enemy's ability to resist, and they're always looking for an opportunity to increase your odds. Right, it's a constant dance you're always working on. So, what do you do to counter this? Give you a fat guess. You repeat yourself, right? You play the same game. Anytime your team has the opportunity, right? The enemy, right? The enemies are coming after you. You set off a booby trap and kill half of them, right? You know, hey, you guys, you can't win. Get out of here, right? Go. We don't want to lose any more resources, right? You know, again, an opportunity to disrupt, right? You have an opportunity to take out their vehicles or throw some flashbangs or tear gas of your own or throw tear gas back at them, which some people do, right? You take that opportunity. Again, if you have an opportunity to increase your odds, you have an opportunity to capture one of their vehicles, you have an opportunity to get your own reinforcements, right? You take it, you know. So one for the other, right? You go through that dance, right? They're going to try and constantly get you to surrender and disrupt you and increase their odds. You have to do the same thing. Which brings us to takeaways and conclusion. My favorite part of these lectures, there's just one, real simple. To beat a professional attacker, you have to be a professional attacker. This is the whole mantra of Anarchy Arts. This is the whole reason I created the system, right? I've said this in multiple different ways, multiple different lectures, but that's ultimately the truth, right? You want to beat people at the highest level, you got to be at the highest level. Okay, you want to knock out the UFC champion at your weight class, you don't just fucking come off the couch, without ever training a day of fighting in your life and go knock that guy out. You got to put in the training. You got to get the resources. You got to have the same mentality, right? So that's what I've been trying to do. You have to play on a level playing field. I know there are systems out there that have you believing phony baloney fantasy. There's instructors out there that are, so inspiring that they have you believing that, now that you've won your medal at your local grappling competition, you're an invincible badass and you can protect yourself and your family with just your jujitsu. No, or, right, it's okay. You don't have to train. You want to defend yourself against men, but you don't want to train against men. No problem, right? You just do these moves on smaller, weaker women, and trust me, bro, they'll work against men in the real deal. Or again, you want to defend yourself against human traffickers and gang members and corrupt government officials and people who commit genocide without owning a gun. Yeah, no problem. You don't need a gun. You just train hard enough and you'll just karate chop guns out of people's hands, right? No. There's an objective scientific reality that we're all subject to, and combat falls within it. And if you want to take out high-level enemies and protect your own freedom and your own life and your own safety and your own community and your own family, you have to play by those fucking scientific rules. Okay, you have to elevate yourself to their level. Okay, you can't just train down here and magically think some bullshit's going to happen to where you can use your kickboxing to be fucking a paramilitary force. Okay, life isn't a fucking 80s movie. So yes, to be the best, you got to beat the best, and that's it.